In this exercise, you are sewing a skirt with elastic casing at the waist. So here you can see the elastic inside the waistline stretches. We have a full front, and then we have two backs, left side and right side. Now, normally we would give you a template and you would trace the template and we'll just get into sewing. But now on Zoom, online, you don't have access to our templates. Therefore, we'll quickly draft a template and then transfer it onto fabric and then make a sample. Now, on the nest, you'll see this handout. It's very easy. There's a diagram with all the measurements and the step-by-step instructions, which I'm gonna go over. Now, this sample is really small. It's not an adult size sample. It's really small sample, just big enough to go into your notebook, okay? Now, step number 1 is 10 by 12. So you just need, a rectangle 10 by 12. What I did, just to save time, I've measured the 12 inches and I measured 10 inches. By the way, for this exercise, you don't need much dot paper. If you just measure 18 inches for the width and the length 15 inches, you should be fine. You have more than enough to work with. So 18 and 15 for the dot paper. Now I measured my 12 inches, which will be my hemline, and then the length 10 inches. And here what I have now. Now I've decided to only draft half the skirt, okay? So this is my front. Instead of drafting a full front, I'm just gonna draft half of the skirt and then I'll just fold it on the center front, cut it out, we'll end up with a full skirt. So you're familiar with that process already. So what I'm going to do, now I have my hemline, I have my side seam. I'm going to measure in, so this is 12 inches. I'm gonna find my center front. So I'm gonna measure 6 inches. Okay, here's 6 inches. And I'm going to draw a line for my center front. So measure up 10 inches. It's a nice, straight, perpendicular line. Okay, so what I did, I just took this measurement. I took this measurement, I divided in half, drew a line right in the middle, and here's my front. Okay, so I'm drafting this side. Okay, so I did step number 1. Now I'm going to do step number 2. I'm going to measure down 5 inches from the waist. Now remember, this is my hemline, this becomes my waist. So I'm going to measure down 5 inches. And I'm going to draw a notch. This notch will become my hip level notch. So this is it, my hip level notch. Okay. Number 3, I'm going to measure out 3/4 at the waist. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to quickly just connect these two lines here, just to make it easier, so you have a better visual. And from this corner, I'm going to measure out 3/4. There you go, measured 3/4. Okay. And my next step, I'm going to use a French curve, and connect from the hip level notch to the waistline. Just create a nice curve. Now I am at number 4. I'm going to measure 1 1/4 at the waist. So here's my waist, measuring 1 1/4. And here's my rectangle of 1 1/4. Okay. Now step number 5, I'm going to measure 1/4 in. So this is, see, when you look at the arrow, okay, it's pointing in. So you're going to measure in 1/4. By the way, you can draft a full front if it makes it easier for you, or you can just draft only 1/2 and fold it like I will, and then cut it out. So here I measured in 1/4 to create this angle. And I'm going to erase my old line. So my next step is going to be number 6. Excuse me for the typo. This should be number 6. I'm going to add 1/2 inch seam allowance at the side seam and 1 inch at the hem. So 1/2 inch at the side seam. Now remember, it's not a straight line. You can't just draw a straight line, it's a curve. So you gotta walk your ruler along that curve until you reach hip level. And then it's a straight line. Then the hem is going to be 1 inch. Connect the side seam to the hem. Connect the side seam to the hem. So this is what you have right now. Connect this also. Connect the seam allowance as well. So what I'm going to do, this is my center front, right? I only drafted half the skirt. I'm going to fold this in half. And I'm going to cut it out to create a full front skirt. So here I've cut out my skirt. Now I need to quickly notch it. So I wanna notch the hemline, just 1 inch. I'm going to notch my hip level. I'm going to notch the fold. And I'm going to notch my 1/2 inch seam allowance. And I want to notch at the waist my center front. That's it. So here's my front completed and ready to go. My next step is going to draft the back again based on the instructions given, which is very similar to the front, except you're only drafting one side, and you will add seam allowance to the side seam and to the center back seam. And then you would add 1 inch hemline.